How do you feel like the way that you're employed is affected by this sort of structural changes?
Currently, for instance, in Goldsmiths, is 50% of the lecturers are casualized. So half the staff does not have a permanent contract. And I think in this sense, the higher education sector is not so different from elsewhere. We have, you saw that in the news like the other day, right? We have drivers that work full-time for a company, wear their uniform, drive in their vans, and they are still self-employed. And this is one way where you can actually stop people receiving social benefits because you don't have to pay for those social benefits, but you also don't have to present a very unpopular policy that you're actually breaking down those social policies, which nobody wants. So now people don't need to break down the social policies because they just don't include people in it. And that means for this school, like where we are in this university, is that your high tuition fees are my problem. Why? Because you are stressed. You need to have an extra job, you face high debt, so therefore you want to rush through your education. I get low paid, have not enough hours to teach you, and I see students that have so many side jobs in order to sustain themselves that they cannot do the reading for their classes. And at the same time they are now put into further stress, saying like, hey, there's a strike, I already cannot do my reading, now I also don't get any classes. But the problem starts before that. Why don't you have time to be a student? Why are you pressured so strongly, financially, socially, to rush through your education, where your education is actually the point where you can find your feet and find your grounding in this society in order to see, like, I have a different way to solve these problems, and we cooperate together with this. Because I don't want to rush through an education as an individual, but we want to build it together, and I think that is what you're doing here in this.
Yeah, I think the thing with NSE, what we're really trying to promote is a resistance to this individualization. Like, we're all at this university. We can't be at this university without lecturers. We want lecturers who feel valued, who are not on these contracts that are like just not valuing the work that they're doing.
Yeah.
And what is there anything you'd like to see from students in general?
This pension scheme and the fight and the pressures that it puts on society are not isolated in universities. They will be transported out of universities. And that is also where I pointed, whatever the career of a student will be, whatever the future of a student will be, they will be impacted by these kind of structures that is going to make their future harder. So from students, what I would love is the connection between the associate lecturers and the senior academics, because what we see actually is that all different levels, we are impacted by these pressures, this privatization pressures on a public sector, which should be a public sector. And I think that is what students should fight for, is yes, stand with your lecturers on the picket, yes, organize teach-ins, but yes, also voice it how this looks from your perspective. Because your words, your voice is just as important as the voice of the lecturers in this. And I think this is from now, before the strike happens, we have 1.5 weeks to go. This is what students should totally set forth.
Thank you very much. Wonderful.